So, the Justice Department of the United States has mobilized the FBI for the purposes of creating a task force to go after parents who are going, basically showing up and protesting against their school boards. So, this is a terroristic threat that requires action directly by the FBI. Not, say, a school teacher who is literally indoctrinating kids into the Antifa terrorism ideology, but parents who are showing up at school board meetings and shouting at school board members about mask mandates or vaccine mandates or about critical race theory. But anyway, so an official website of the United States government, here's how you know. For immediate release, Justice Department addresses violent threats against school officials and teachers, Monday, October 4th, 2021. Citing an increase in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence against school board members, teachers, and workers in our nation's public schools, today, Attorney General Merrick B. Garland directed the FBI and U.S. Attorney's offices to meet in the next 30 days with federal, state, tribal, territorial, and local law enforcement leaders to discuss strategies for addressing this disturbing trend. These sessions will open dedicated lines of communication for threat reporting, assessment, and response by law enforcement. Quote, threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values. I guess that's unless it's threats being made by, say, BLM or Antifa. Anyway, wrote Attorney General Garland, those who dedicate their time and energy to ensuring that our children receive a proper education in a safe environment deserve to be able to do their work without fear for their safety. According to the Attorney General's memorandum, the Justice Department will launch a series of additional efforts in the coming days designed to address the rise in criminal conduct directed towards school personnel. These efforts are expected to include the creation of a task force consisting of representatives from the department's Criminal Division, National Security Division, Civil Rights Division, the Executive Office for U.S. Attorneys, the FBI, the Community Relations Service, and the Office of Justice Programs to determine how federal enforcement tools could be used to prosecute these crimes and ways to assist state, tribal, territorial, and local law enforcement where threats of violence may not constitute federal crimes. So, again, where was the mobilization for this clear and present danger during all of the riots and, burning of 2020? Where was it when, again, I already brought up the school teacher who literally was working in a school, recruiting kids into Antifa ideology, but now because we have some people showing up and shouting at school board meetings, we need to have the FBI create a task force specifically to try to track these people down. And then let's look here, like what we're dealing with here. So the Criminal Division, the National Security Division, so it's a threat to national security. The Civil Rights Division. Now, a lot of people on Twitter are trying to say, well, this doesn't mention critical race theory anywhere, but there you have it, the Civil Rights Division. So basically, this is just, scary to me because, what's happening on these school boards is that parents are starting to become savvy about what their rights really are, how to mobilize, how to change things, and we're talking about, okay, threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values. Okay, great. Well, Antifa shows up outside of, public service, people all out of their houses all the time. And there was just video recently of some activists literally following a senator into the bathroom, and, when we talk about harassment and threats and all that, it just, again, we have this weird situation where the government is being very careful not to identify certain domestic terrorists, and meanwhile to go instead after others. I was just watching a video the other day where they were discussing, and where a member of Congress was discussing Antifa, with somebody from the FBI, and they were very careful not to try to in any way even acknowledge Antifa. It's literally something that there's just no way that this person wasn't being taught or told or instructed that they're not to even try to mention it that way. which is unfortunate because another FBI guy, did the opposite not long ago. But there's something going on here, So let's go back. Let's go back to the article. The Justice Department will also create specialized training and guidance for local school boards and school administrators. This training will help school board members and other potential victims understand the type of behavior that constitutes threats, how to report threatening conduct to the appropriate law enforcement agencies, and how to capture and preserve evidence of threatening conduct to aid in investigation and prosecution of these crimes. I could create an entire video montage of kids, in some of the more violent cities, literally just beating the crap out of their teachers, but nobody was putting together any FBI task forces for that. Anyway, threats of violence against school board members, officials, and workers in our nation's public schools can be reported by the public to the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. I'll provide a link to this in the descriptions that you guys can share it. But I just think when we're looking at this, that there's a real problem with priorities here, in so much as to, who's a danger and who is not. And I'm not saying that, there might not have been some threats, from parents to school board members, but there haven't been any incidents that I'm aware of, aside from people getting up and shouting during meetings, which is what they're allowed to do. And school board members are elected officials. So it's either okay all the time or it's never okay. And, you can't have it both ways. And this is just another example of the crazy, double think that we have going on here when it comes to this sort of thing. And I say this as somebody who leans on the left. This is completely unfathomable to me. We had a school teacher literally indoctrinating kids to become violent terrorists. That was his goal, and that doesn't require any federal attention. But angry, parents showing up at school board meetings does. And if there are people violently threatening the school boards, okay, cool. Handle that in your local way. There's really no reason for any federal oversight in this whatsoever, unless there's somebody with federal level attention that has some kind of agenda involved, in basically some kind of skin in the game, So anyway, I'll keep you guys apprised on this story, and share awareness of this. If this is your first time checking me out, like, subscribe, ring the bell, consider supporting me on Patreon. I also enabled PayPal for that purpose and Subscribe Star. So thanks again for tuning in.